What's up, everybody? I'm Jason Bellin from Hard Money Bankers. Sitting next to me, Ian Horowitz from Equity Warehouse. Welcome to the Real Estate Reserve podcast, the number one real estate investing podcast in the whole wide world. I have a great guest that we're going to interview here in a second. Hopefully, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm hoping that we're going to dive into some TikTok stuff, some E-Comm stuff, some real estate investing stuff with Hayden. Ian, why don't you give a little quick backstory about Hayden, then we'll introduce him and we'll get this thing going.
Yeah, I met Hayden out at a mastermind event, one of those events that everybody talks about going to and then you don't want to go to, but my buddy John drugged me out. He said, dude, you got to go. It was Tim Bratz's event out in Cleveland, and had a good time and, really had good conversations, but, a hot topic, especially Jason, you can talk about it as you were hiring your TikTok guy to do ads. I was like, hey, Hayden, you're an E-Comm. Do you have a second? And we started talking about some of that stuff and really just social media marketing, real estate, how it all works together. And then I just figured it was good to have him on, man, because it's always good to hear diverse backgrounds, how people make their money, and ultimately how they find their way to real estate. So let's bring Hayden in.
Sure. Hayden, how are you?
I'm doing excellent. How about you guys?
Not too bad.
Don't let him fool you. He's got like that dark room over there, but he's hiding out or lives in Puerto Rico. So if this was a winter episode, we'd be bitching. But since it's still nice and warm, and
hey, we all got t-shirts on. We're good.
Yeah. No, it's great to be here. I love what you guys got going on here with the podcast and bringing on a lot of amazing guests. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Do you just want to go over who you are and where you're from and how the heck you ended up in Puerto Rico?
Sure thing. Yeah, my name is Hayden Bowles. I'm primarily in the e-commerce industry, do a good bit of real estate now as well. I grew up in Minnesota, wasn't a great student, the whole classic story. I managed to get an e-commerce store and some other stuff off the ground when I was about 17 years old. That led to me dropping out of high school, kind of a whole backstory there. I moved to California when I was 17 years old. And lived there for a while, ended up in Arizona for the kind of the last 4 years. And 2 years ago, I moved to Puerto Rico. So I split my time now between Arizona and Puerto Rico. I moved my e-commerce company down here for tax purposes. So I spent about half the year here and then the rest either traveling or at my home in Arizona. So I got into real estate because at the end of the day, I've always been passionate about it, first of all, but I needed a place to put some of the money that I was making for my e-commerce company. So it started with e-commerce. About a year into that, I started my YouTube channel because when I was getting started, it was a little difficult to find good advice, good information, and just like genuine tips with no ulterior motive of someone trying to sell you something. So I started doing that. The channel pretty quickly took off and it's just been growing like crazy since. So we have almost 300,000 subscribers on there and, kind of diversified on all the social media platforms as well. So that led into a media company where we had like an advertising agency branch and a couple other things. So that's kind of been the last 6 years in a very quick summary for you.
Yeah, that's a pretty crazy career. I mean, from 17 to, I guess that makes you 24, 25, somewhere in there. You
22.
Okay, I can't even do math. I mean, Jesus, that's insane. And, Jason, he was complaining at the mastermind. I know we're not supposed to share information, but I feel like you'd be okay with this. He's worried about raising capital, but the guy's got 300,000 followers on YouTube. I mean, honestly, I know we brought you on here as a guest, but I'd love to hear Jason's opinion on someone who has 300,000 subscribers and raising capital, because he's raised almost $50 million. So,
yes,
more than that.
Nice.
It's a little bit different. Let me think through that a little bit, and we'll talk. I promise we'll get back to that subject. So, have you found it, obviously I understand the reasoning for getting into real estate, right? It's like, hey, I'm making money. Like I can't put it in a bank or a savings account or this. I need to learn something to invest in. Two questions related to the real estate component of this. Number one, what type of real estate have you been attracted to? And number two, do you believe that I don't want to say past experience because it's still your ongoing experience, but obviously you understand marketing and you understand, especially on the digital marketing side, like, are you using your experience with that in order to find real estate and to operate real estate?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think my previous, I obviously still run the previous career and company inside the e-commerce and marketing world. It's very much so a solo adventure. You don't need a lot of people. The relationships, while it's important in every industry, it's not really needed to make a lot of money. And so real estate's completely different, right? It's absolutely different from that. So that's why I really like it. And I think that having the audience allows me to get my foot in the door a little bit. Like that's how I met Tim. It was because a friend of mine who I met through social media, another big social media guy, Ryan Pineda, he bought a property, I think 330 something units with Tim. And so I was like, well, who's Tim? And so that allowed me to reach out and get to know Tim. And now we become friends. And again, you just kind of get your foot in the door. So, running all the e-commerce stuff has been good, but yeah, definitely need a place to put the money. As for what type of real estate, in the beginning, I didn't really know what I was looking for. So I just focused on location and making sure that I at least broke even. Because the reason I started buying my first couple properties was just to get rid of some liquidity, protect it, ideally grow it over time, and get some tax benefits. So I bought my first 3 properties when I was 19. It was 2 single family homes and a duplex. It was about 1.2 million total. I bought those and then I did nothing for a year. I just wanted to see how they'd perform. I had third-party management handling it. So I kind of went that route. It worked extremely well. I always noticed the duplex kept doing a little better. We renovated that. Cash flow is a little more. So I went more towards the multifamily side of things. I picked up some more small multis. I did buy another single family rental. So I've got some of like the luxury single family rentals as well. And then just a handful of small multifamilies. So it's like 25 units or so. I've done some JV partnerships and other deals where people need capital. I do some LP lending. And nowadays we're buying that 48 unit. And then I'm looking to do storage as well. So we're actually looking at developing some storage, which has been great.
Nice.
Yeah, man. And I think that's probably something that relates well to you, because in the e-com world, your guys' whole thing is scale, right? Like, and maybe we talk a little bit about that of like building an e-com business and how it relates maybe more to commercial real estate versus single family. Because if I understand correctly, in the e-com world, you guys look for like, all right, this ad works, boom, let me scale it. All right, single family house works, boom, let me scale it. Let me go buy multifamily. Did you see any relationship between the two, or you want to talk kind of about scale and those types of things?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the saying of if you can't do it for a lifetime, don't do it for a day. So whatever you do has to be sustainable and scalable, because I like to grow. I like to move quickly. And so just like in the e-commerce world, I started up a new e-commerce store many years ago and it worked. Things were going well. And I scaled it from $0 to $70,000 a day in 2 weeks. And the profit on that was like 10 to 15,000 a day. And so, of course, there's Facebook ad account issues where your ad account gets disabled for no reason. And there's a whole laundry list of problems that come with it. Otherwise I'd be worth a lot of money. But, we fight those problems and we kind of take them on as they come. But yeah, I've done well with the e-commerce stuff. And then for the real estate, I wanted to build a system where I could scale. So number one, for me, that meant not being actively involved. I'm fine with the relationships and talking to brokers and lenders and all these people, but I didn't want to operate the deal. From an investment perspective, I wanted to oversee it. And so I was a little bit in the weeds with my business and I was struggling to get out of it at the time. And so I didn't want to take on another job. So that's why I put management in place. They've been incredible with handling the process. The company I use has like 4,000 units under management. So they've just been on top of their game and it's fantastic.
Well, I think anyone who's listening, the experiences that you have is such a good gateway into real estate investing in general. I actually have similar experiences with that, not at the scale that you have, but you learn so much from it. And I mean, think about it. Like, think about when you started and how many units or how many projects you already have. Like, you know how to go, you know how to take action, you know how to do stuff, and you can relate, like what Ian just said, your background to it. We started buying real estate in like early 2000s. And that was kind of pre-YouTube, pre-Google AdWords, stuff like that. And then Google AdWords and all that stuff came out. I mean, I still have my same Google AdWords account running with some of the same ads for the last 18 years that we started with. And it's stuff's changed, right? Like, I don't know how to run TikTok ads. I know how to run Google AdWords, but I don't know how to run TikTok ads. We just had to hire somebody to help us with it because I'm like, this platform doesn't even make sense. But regardless, point being is we got into real estate, pre-hard money lending. We got into real estate that we wanted to be hard money lenders. And when we started our hard money lending company, most hard money lending companies were like old school. They weren't using digital marketing, digital media. And like, we went all in on that stuff. It was like, hey, if I can learn how to create content videos, if I can learn how to post this stuff, I can learn how to, run, whatever, back in the day it was like Bing and Microsoft Ad Center and stuff like that. Like there was just a lot of other different stuff. But the point being is it's not even about like knowing how to do it. It's like, wait, if you do that stuff and you understand it and you understand that marketing comes first, then you'll find deals, then you'll find capital, then you'll find a team and an operation. And I think your background with that is the best for, Segue. And hopefully there's a lot of younger generation folks that are in their late teens, early 20s that are starting to buy real estate, and they can adapt to it quickly like you have, because you have, even if you don't have real estate experience, you have other marketing related experiences to segue into that.
Definitely. Yeah. And I mean, TikTok ads is an interesting platform. It's a little more similar to Facebook, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, from an operational perspective, I did everything on my own for quite a while until it wasn't sustainable. The first 3 years of business for me, 17, 18, 19 was 12 hours a day, every day. There was no days off. There wasn't, I was afraid to hand things off. I was also just super cheap. So I didn't want to spend any money. Why would I hire someone, And then I started realizing I should buy back my time to focus on the things that make a little more money and make more sense. So slowly started doing that. I've made my fair share of mistakes with, building a team and having employees. And one of those caused the collapse of one of my companies. And so I've learned a lot along the way. And, there's been plenty of successes and a few bigger losses there that have all just been a fantastic learning experience. So I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah. And hey, Hayden, and kind of like to what Jay's point of like, the younger generation coming into real estate and getting involved earlier. And I know one of your motivating factors, my motivating factor for, raising private capital and doing deals is bringing in my friends and family who are mostly first responders. And we got talking about finding your right demographic. I know you're coming up on your first big capital raise for your multifamily deal, or you've completed it. I know one of your passions was helping other e-comm entrepreneurs. Have you figured out, or are those guys even interested in it? Or it's like they just want fast cash? Like, have you been able to translate that story yet across other e-commerce?
It's a great question. I think, I've had a conversation with probably about 7 or 8 of my closer friends in the e-commerce space. And a lot of those guys are very liquid, beyond a certain point, the business doesn't take new capital being injected. So some of these guys have, 300,000 laying around. Some of them have 10 million. And, I had one of the guys on the larger side of that who didn't want to come into this deal for, $140, maybe 280,000. He didn't want to, just because, he's like, oh, well, the returns are kind of, what's 10% cash flow and 20% internal? Like, I can make.
When you guys can make 1,000% on e-comm, right?
Yeah. And the point I tried to convey was, number one, you're not, though. You are with your business, but you have 8 million in the bank that's not doing anything, and you don't have a place to put it to get those returns. So it's like, why? And you don't need the money. You live a crazy life. You spend 20 grand a month. It's like, you don't need it. And so, trying to get them to make sense of it. Now, a lot of those friends have seen what I've done in real estate. I know they're interested. I know some of them have bought a couple properties on their own. And I think over time, they'll kind of move over as they watch what I do. So I can tell there's a lot of eyes on me, from this real estate deal that we're doing. And we're about halfway through the raise. So we need like another 600-700 grand to get it across the finish line, and we'll get it done. So, we're going through that whole process, and it's been a lot of fun having those conversations, seeing people get cold feet and why they get cold feet and why other investors like it. So it's been good.
Well, and a lot of real estate investing is diversification, and it's also long-term wealth and growth. And it's not as sexy as it seems like. Wholesaling, flipping can be sexy, right? Hey, I do a deal, I make 10 grand or 30 grand, whatever it is in a short period of time. Like that's sexy. But like for the people that you were just talking about, they don't want to be flippers or wholesalers. That's too much work for the amount of return that they can make online or do other things. But by investing capital, maybe as an LP or partnering with you or somebody else, or buying rental properties and putting management in place, like that's where real growth and wealth happens long term. I kind of equate that to a lot of folks. People always come up to me and be like, oh, how do I, be my own hard money lender, my own private lender? And I'm like, I'm happy to help you share experiences, but it's slow and steady wins the race. Like you're not going to make a ton of money overnight. And you might not even be interested in our model because, for instance, let's say it takes 200. Let's say you have $100,000 and you want to lend it out, and whatever you lend it out at 12 and 2, 13 and 3, whatever the case is. Like that $100,000 makes you $15,000 at the end of the year. It's a lot of money, right? But like you're also, that's at the most you can potentially make on that. If you're flipping a house and you have $100,000, you can buy 4 properties and put $25,000 into each one of them down, borrow the rest, and you could turn that $100,000 into $200,000 or $300,000. So it's not as sexy. And when you said that story about your friend, like that kind of does make sense of like, hey, I don't really want to mess with it. It's not a ton of money, but put it into an investment vehicle and passively grow that, because you never know what's going to happen in your current business. Like I always feel like when you're investing, you invest outside of your business. You've already gone all in on your own business. People already go all in on your own business. This is like side capital where it's like, put it into here, let it sit, and whatever your goals are long-term, hopefully that helps achieve that.
Yeah, and it's been interesting to see people's response to it, which is totally fine. Everybody can invest how they want. But again, these guys are very skilled in what they do. They make a ton of money from their business, and there's always ups and downs, but I mean, they can always make money with it. I mean, they are, the top of the top, and they have many income streams. So yeah, it's interesting. And I think over time, a lot of those people will convert and they will invest. And that's why I'm starting the fund, because I know there's people there, just like how I was, who had money not getting a return. Like I think when you start to talk bigger numbers with them, let's say they have $3 million. It's like, hey, you place $2 million with me and you're going to make $200,000 a year in cash flow, and we're going to grow that equity. There's principal pay down, there's natural appreciation, there's forced appreciation. Like it starts to get to a number where they might be able to think about it. I'm like, but you got to start small. Like just, throw 100 in the deal just to see it, just to see how it works. Like that's what I did. I've put money with Tim. I've put money with other people. So that's how I've done it.
Well, and the problem is it's just like, when you're sitting on, it's all relative, right? Like for some people, it's like, man, I'm laying out $25,000. If I get back 500 or whatever, 250 a month, they're jumping for joy. But then the same person who has a few million in the bank and they only get back 250 a month, they're like, oh, well, it's not even like worth my time, even though it's all relative returns. It's really about allocating the capital. But the one thing that they all have the issue with is they need to allocate capital into deals, and they can only find so many. And I think Jason has a similar story of getting beat up when he was doing affiliate type marketing through email list. And then all of a sudden, all that stuff goes away. Like you said, Google comes in, smacks you around, Facebook, throttles you back. Like right now, my reels aren't doing well. I probably clicked on some link that they didn't like, and now my reels don't work. Right. And those are all things that you got to combat. But real estate or cash flowing assets in general are just a nice, easy, straight and up to the right, nice and gradual, and it's long-term, right? I mean, I think that's what we're all chasing. That being said, you kind of want to go, like, you want to break down the deal that you're working on right now out in Cleveland, and so we can kind of like see how that's working, and so other people can understand, and we can kind of maybe figure out how we can get you some more investors, or convey the story that you're looking to do.
Oh yeah, I mean, that'd be great. This deal is a 48 unit property. It's basically turnkey. We're going to finish up the last couple of units and a couple of larger items, but current ownership has owned it for 4 years. They've gutted the thing. They've done a ton of work to it. It's stabilized. We're paying 3.51. That was 3.6 with a $90,000 credit towards closing. And we're closing that up here by the end of the month in September. So yeah, we'll be getting that closed up. Tim's a partner on the deal. And then Justin Coratori, who's another member of Legacy Family. He's the asset manager on the deal. So he owns about 150 units himself and a property management company. So he'll be day to day. And we're getting this one wrapped up. I mean, I'm super excited for it. It's lakefront. It's just outside of Cleveland. It's going to be a long-term hold. The sexiest part about it that I really like, which, some people think I'm a nerd because I like the numbers, but we're assuming the current loan. And that's why I really like it, because as you guys know, the debt's going up a little bit. Things are getting a little more expensive. Like I'm going to refinance right now and it's a little more spendy, but we're assuming the current rate fixed at 3.69.
So I mean, that's an asset. That's an asset in itself. And I think a lot of guys that are sitting on commercial real estate right now, or even those that get real crafty in the single family world, going out and picking up properties that you can assume debt on. I think either as a seller, you have an asset that you can sell along. Like we bought a $12 million storage portfolio. We got 3.125. I think that's a huge sellable asset above and beyond the intrinsic value that we've created there. And I don't think enough people put weight on that, like when you start nerding out on numbers and going through those types of things. So,
I mean, it's important. I mean, 2 points makes a huge difference. I mean, if you're at, 3.5 versus 5.5, I mean, your cash flow is different. It's massive. So, looking at that is huge. And I think that's another version almost of creative financing. You got people doing all the sub 2 stuff, but I mean, assuming a loan is a version of that. That's creative financing. Not to mention, it also can make the closing a little bit easier. Like for this one, I mean, we're buying the LLC that owns the property. Like there's a few things we're doing that are actually helping us in many different ways. So, yeah.
Is this for this property? You plan to hold this for a long period of time, or after it gets a little bit more stabilized, you plan to sell it?
Yeah, this will probably be a 5-year. We're saying 4 to 7 on the time frame there. If this was a property I was buying on my own, I'd probably just hold it for forever, for a long period of time, just because of the debt. And slowly pay it down. It's on interest only right now. Principal kicks in a 1.5 years. We'll hold this for 5 years. Rents are disgustingly low, so we've got to go in there, clean it up. It was not operated right, so we're going to get that done. It's already very stable now. The rents are just, again, hundreds of dollars below where they need to be. So we'll go in. It's a boring project. It's a little less of a value add than I normally do, but I really like that. From the the first time I'm raising money, it's really conservative. We'll be able to get 10+% in that cash flow. We'll be able to have a nice internal rate of return, and I think we'll creep up north towards 15% cash on cash. So it'll be nice. And it's a little boring, but I think that's good.
Yeah, and that's okay. I mean, as long as listen, when you start raising capital, especially at scale, because anyone can raise capital from a few people, a few friends and family and things like that. But as it's scale, like, not have to give away the farm, but you got to make this very enticing to your capital investors. And obviously it's got to be a win-win, or you're not incentivized to stay in the project. But the higher it is, the better quality of capital investors you have, and the more they'll want to reinvest. I mean, Ian's at a spot in his business. And we've been in a spot in our business for a while where, the investors don't really care what we're buying or what we're investing in, as long as they're investing with us as an operator, because they've done, dozens. I mean, on our end, dozens and dozens. Some of our investors invested in hundreds of our loans because they've done thousands of them. On Ian's, it's, hey, I got paid off. You performed the way you did. Let me do the next deal for you, and the next deal for you, and the next deal. It's the same investors over and over and over. And I know on some of the longer term multifamily or storage or other types of assets in our world, our stuff short term, so it's easy, right? Like an investor, is involved, co-lends with us on a deal, they get paid off in whatever, 5 months, 6 months, 10 months, like that's quick. And on some of these, I know it's longer term, but like as long as they're performing and they're getting their dividends or their payments, however it's structured, like it's not like somebody wants to invest with you and they get paid back and they'll be like, yep, I'm done. I made my return. I'm happy. On to the next one. Like they're going to continue and they're going to brag to everybody. And I think in this space, I feel like a lot of newer operators in general, it's like, oh, I'm not giving up 50% of the deal or 30% of the deal or 80% of the deal. It's like, what does it freaking matter? As long as you're accomplishing what you want out of it, who cares? And I know there's times where, we've all been like, yeah, like I'd rather not give up as much as I can, or as I am currently. But when you look back, it's like that was the right play and it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude. Well, and it's got to be win-win, right? Like it's not always about the money. Like sometimes you got to eat a little bit of shit to get what you want later on, right? Like Jason was a part of a deal that we did where it's risky. We gave an insanely high preferred return. We gave almost a guarantee of return per year on top of the crazy high preferred, and we gave up a bunch of equity. But I think Jason's probably one of the larger investors in that deal. I think he's happy. We're super happy. And hopefully it goes in the right direction. If not, we've protected the investor in the correct fashion. And I think too many people, I don't know, it kind of came up in that mastermind group of like, how much do you give up? What's right? What's wrong? There's no book. There's no like, you have to do it this way. You can get creative. And I think that's where some of the trouble maybe in you raising capital from E-Comm guys is the same thing I always said. Oh, it's hard for me to raise money because I don't have a lot. I have all blue collar guys around me. Well, blue collar guys got money. I just got to figure out how to show them how we've had success and how they can have success with us. The same thing is, you can make all the 1,000% returns you want. At some point, you're going to get your dick kicked. And this is why this is a great alternative in case this happens. I mean, how many guys do you know that had their like Stripe account shut down? Like, I mean,
all of them.
Dude,
all of them.
Me and Jay were at that one click, like one of the first one of the first ClickFunnels events. Remember that dude that sold ice scrapers, and he was telling us how he got his merchant account shut down. He had all kinds of hundreds of thousands of dollars jammed up that he had to wait for it to release. Like, that's insane.
I've been in a lawsuit for the last 2.5 years because a merchant stole, about 130,000 from me that was left in reserve. So I'd processed like $2 million worth of payments. They held 5%, right? And they're supposed to release it when you close your accounts. I saw that company headed towards some lawsuits and a lot of stuff happening. They've been scamming their customers, stealing tens of millions, and now they're in trouble with the SEC and all this stuff, and it's a big thing. But it's happened more than once, for sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Every industry has problems. Every industry.
The grass is not greener. It's just different.
The grass is not. It's and it's a good example. Of like, hey, diversify, because guess what? You might wake up one night or one morning and whatever. You might have a lawsuit against some old client, that you sold a product to, or whatever the case is. Like you need diversity. And I think a lot of us stick to the stuff that we know the most. And listen, I'm all about going all in on the stuff we know, but the point is diversity. And I think your friends, going back to like the first 1 minute of this podcast, when like would recommend to raise capital, and you probably heard this before. I'm not making this up. I'm sure people have told you this, but and it kind of relates to this is like just keep doing case studies online of your deals, and people love case studies, and then people will want to be co-invest in you because these guys that are out there making a ton of money online or doing whatever they're doing, be like, oh, that place is sexy. Maybe that single family flip wasn't sexy, but this 48 unit building might be sexy to them, or this storage facility, or this restaurant, or whatever you invested. Just keep document everything. That's what we did kind of early on. We would document not really the success. We just document like the deals, like on our server. And these are probably on like back pages of YouTube everywhere, is like video walkthroughs of every house that we ever did a loan on back in the day. And it was, crappy. I don't even think there was iPhone. So it was, I had to upload them into YouTube. And it was literally just, hey, this is the property. The investor's buying it for this price. This is what they're going to renovate it at. They're going to do this. They're going to do this. And then that transitions into higher quality stuff. But I think if everyone just does case studies documenting them, investors feel like, hey, I'm a part of this deal. Like I own this. You drive by this 48 unit property and it's like, oh, like I'm an owner of this property. Like it's mine, even though they're just an LP, straight passive investor. I feel like that on the deals that I do with Ian. It's or that we do with other people.
Hayden, this is 7 years of Jason beating my ear. Hey man, just do this, just do that. But I'll tell you what, it works. With this last cap raise that we're doing, I got 4 people that reached off of me from social media that went through our funnel on our website, that did the case studies, that have been following us around on our reels, our podcast, all the case studies that we've done. Like that is huge. But I think that goes back to actually doing deals, right? How many of your buddies are like, I want to do it, but then they never do it. You're actually doing it. And they might never tell you, oh yeah, I want to invest with you, but they are, like you said, they are watching you and they're going to be like, yo, dude, all right, I've watched you enough. Let's go. Like my turning point, and I think Jason could attest to this because, he helped finance and get us to where we are today, is the day I quit the fire department. That was the day everybody was like, holy shit. Like you guys really did it, man. Like, and that's when the floodgates started to open for us anyway. So,
I mean, when they see you're all in, like you're 100%. Doing it, it's working. And I did the same thing in the e-commerce stuff, like with our media company. We do all the case studies. People know how good we are, and they want to work with us because of it. So
yeah, and this is also what, and you've already done a ton of deals. You've already seem to have done a ton of deals, so have a lot more experience than you've probably showcased. Maybe you have showcased it, but I'm guessing you've probably done a lot more deals than your potential capital investors even know that you've done. So all of a sudden, like let's say you're fully funded on this deal, and you have constantly capital raising. These guys reach out to you, be like, "Oh, hey Hayden, yeah, I'm in," and be like, "Hey, sorry, dude, I don't have a deal for you. Like next time, you better step up and do it quicker because these deals, fill up quickly." And constantly marketing and emailing, like, "Hey, these are deals that we did. We put our investors in. They made a 30% IRR, whatever it is, on this particular deal." It's not bragging, it's showcasing, because it's not like, it's not about you, it's about your capital investors. And you show that to them, like they'll just be dying to get into the next deal. And after that happens, that's when the floodgates kind of really start opening. And then
I would say my number one motivating factor is I'm trying to figure out how Hayden can make a badass funnel. And I'm like, hey man, can I borrow that funnel or can I just hack that? Cause I gotta figure you probably have already started to think about this. I did show you what we were doing, but that kind of brings me to like a good transition here. If you still got a few more minutes with us, is like marketing in general. Like, have you put much thought into like marketing and, obviously for your e-comm, TikTok and YouTube and all those things? Is there any like pointers for real estate investors that, that you could maybe share for like on the online space of what they could be doing to help promote their business?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, from like a general marketing perspective, like you said, I have thought about doing funnels and different, free offers just to build emails and all sorts of stuff. So that is coming. I could run ads directly to that. I've seen other people that do that for their funds. So that's one route to go. And the second route is the organic route. That's where you're just posting content and it makes no difference whether you have 1 view on it or 1 million. Your input doesn't change. So you're going to make content and put it out. Right now, from a social media perspective, TikTok is the only platform where you can really see explosive growth without doing anything crazy, right? So for TikTok, you want to post more than once per day on the same TikTok account. And for me, I always try to peak an emotion. So that could mean either piss someone off or make someone sad. Those are the videos that really blow up. It's like the dog at the shelter type of video. And everybody's like, oh, I want to, like adopt a dog. Or it's somebody saying something crazy that just like you disagree with. And maybe they spin it around at the end of the video so you don't hate them, but like you got to be a little bit out there, So I think like right now, videos that work well on TikTok, I'm doing a couple of them, is videos on raising rents, how that works. Because of course you're going to get a lot of people that dislike that topic. So just talking about that and like in the first 2 seconds of the video, like here's how we raised rents by $40,000 last year. And like, you're putting landlord in the description. People are not going to like that. Right. But then you're going to, talk about in the video how you're still slightly under market value. You have a conversation with your tenants. You're human. You're not just an asshole about it, So I kind of go through our process and I think you hook hard in the beginning and then you kind of spin the story towards the end. So that's how I do it. TikTok's working well. I just hired 4 people in the last 3 weeks to do a lot of TikToks. So we're branching off. I'm actually buying a verified TikTok account to start posting content on as well. So you can do that, change the name on it. So I'll let you guys know how that works, but I think that'll help get some more exposure. So, different things like that. So yeah, we're going hard on the social media. YouTube's good for long format. I've thought about making a podcast, but I really just like YouTube. I think it's a little lower hanging fruit for me because I already have it there. But
sure. So yeah. Mad. So the emotions, mad and sad. Those are the 2 ones you said.
Those are the 2 big ones that work well on TikTok. So if you're saying something crazy, I have a couple buddies of mine that are real estate guys. One of them's a Section 8 guy. He's got 500 or 600 single family Section 8s. And man, people either love him or hate him on TikTok. He blew up to 1 million followers in less than a year. And, because of that, I'm sure his deal flow has increased. I'm sure his, people who want to give him money has increased. He doesn't really have a fund, but he does raise money. And so, all that stuff has increased. And he started a program that teaches it and he does really well.
Do you think the demo for TikTok is all ages and not just, younger gen that I think a lot of people think? Like, do you think that,
sure. Yeah,
that
it's a good question.
40, 50, 60-year-olds that you could target on there?
So TikTok is mostly 44 and under. So I'll give you an example. When we run ads for e-commerce products, I can't sell something to an older generation successfully through TikTok. There are people there, but there's not enough. So like my biggest e-commerce brand, it's kind of tied with another one now that I don't run anymore. It was an orthopedic store. So we were selling an ankle brace and a knee brace. It's not a sexy product. TikTok, you need a little bit more of like a pizzazz in your ad. It was a very basic product. Worked really well on Facebook, sold 15 million bucks worth of it. However, on TikTok, the audience just wasn't there for people over 45 years old. But the 2 strongest audiences on TikTok are 25 to 34 and 35 to 44. Those are the strongest audiences. So if the bulk of people are 25 to 45, well, I mean, that's a quality audience. You're probably not going to have a 19-year-old invest 100 grand in your deal. They exist, but, there are older people. But I think a lot of people think it's, teenagers and people underage. And obviously that was my assumption as well, but it's just not the case. Yeah. Actually, one of my larger investors who is also an e-commerce guy, he's not going to come in on this deal, but I know he will on others, very liquid. He's followed me for a long time because I'm one of the larger figures in the e-commerce space. He has no personal brand, but he's done $100+ million in sales with his company. And he followed me on TikTok. I was talking about my deal. I wasn't pitching. I wasn't asking for investors. He commented And all I said in the video was, we're raising money from accredited investors and here's how we're doing the deal. And he commented and said, I'm accredited. I have a few million to play with. And boom, relationship started.
Yeah, we had a decent sized book funnel that we ran pretty much only on Facebook for we stopped that on Facebook 2 or 3 years ago, and it did great on Facebook, and things have changed obviously, and this is kind of not pre TikTok ads, but kind of, because they're fairly new, and reached out to somebody that we were friendly with in Russell Brunson's mastermind that runs a huge well, I don't even know what the term is, ad media
agency,
buying agency.
Yeah.
And he was like, dude, these book funnels kill it on TikTok. And I'm like, really? So, and I was, and we've been running TikTok ads for this book funnel over the last 4 months. But it was interesting because I wouldn't have guessed either that our target demo is probably, 30 to 50-ish, give or take. And surprisingly,
they're there.
It's there.
They're there. And I think part of it with the advertising platforms real quick is from an advertising perspective, no platform is logical. So there's people of all ages on the platforms, but like if you want to launch ads on Facebook to target older people, you might actually get better results on TikTok versus Facebook just because your ad account reacts differently. So there's no actual logic to how you're running ads. Sometimes an ad works really well and makes you 30,000, and then you run the same exact thing on another ad account and it does terrible. So there's always a variable there too. So that's why I'm all for testing.
Plus it's the investment, right? Like you got 300,000 subscribers on YouTube. That shit didn't happen overnight. TikTok's a long-term play. These people, it's like we're a little bit older than you, obviously, is that Facebook and Instagram are the two to go to. TikTok, Snapchat, what's the other one? Discord, Twitch, all these other goofy ones. Like I'm out, dude. Like I deleted Snapchat off the phone. I only have TikTok on there so my girl can post everything. Other than that, dude, I don't touch it, dude. Like I don't get it, but I think the TikTok people stay on TikTok as they get older because that's what they're used to using. And then whatever the new platform is, some younger generations going to be having the same podcast and they're going to be talking about the same thing. Yeah, I only do this platform. And over the long term, they're going to invest in that one. And I think it's important not to – I think it's too hard to try to dominate all of them, and it's more important just to be good at one of them. I seem to concentrate on Instagram as the one I like the best personally, just because it's user friendly to me and it ties to Facebook and it's a boom boom.
Yeah,
I can make one post.
Your money is you got all the money you need on one platform, right? Yep. Now, of course, you want to diversify a little bit, but like Instagram, in my opinion, is the conversion platform. So I make all the YouTube videos, all these TikToks about e-commerce. We have a training program for e-commerce and all that stuff. A lot of those people convert from Instagram. So they'll go from those broad platforms, follow me on Instagram, and that's where we'll do a promotion or people will ask questions because it's a little bit easier to have communication there. There's not a lot of direct messaging on TikTok. There's no real way to do that. On Facebook, it exists, but I feel like most people will have a conversation easier on Instagram. So from a conversion perspective, Instagram's great, and it's a very broad platform. So, yeah.
Yeah, and Ian, like I feel with a lot of the real estate followings, like that are both my audience and your audience are somewhat similar, is YouTube's good because they can just get stuck in there, and they want a little bit longer form stuff. Our challenge with TikTok's been, you need a hook very, very fast, or they're gone.
Yeah,
and
it's just straight scroll,
and it's also just a lot of them, and over and over and over. And,
but you can make a big list of ideas, like one for you right now, like your first 2 seconds. I spent $12.2 million yesterday, or whatever the number is, and you spin that to how you spent that in gross amount buying your storage. We bought a portfolio. Like you just hook. Did you spend 12 million yesterday? No, but yes, at the same time. You transacted that, and so you start talking. Jason's
going right out to the recording booth. I can already see his mind working. He's going right out to the recording booth to do it right now.
I have a few studios in my office.
Yeah. So it's like just things like that, and you remake the same stuff, and the videos that work, you just remake it 5 different ways. Like most of I've made well over 1,000, maybe it's 1,200 YouTube videos now. Like over the last 5-6 years, I posted every day for 650 days. Like that's how I built the channel in the beginning, and so. All of those topics, a lot of them were like versions of a repeat, but it's like just like how you might do a case study on 3 separate houses. It's the same thing. It's just 3 houses with different numbers involved. Instead of 212,000, it's 245. It's the same thing, but it's still different because it's a different property. For stock traders, it's a different stock. It's still the same process. So we do the same thing with e-commerce. I can explain the same thing over and over, but it feels different every time. And some people attach to this one, like single family more than multi, still a similar thing. So,
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'd be really interested in a few years, even just a year from now, to see what kind of ideas you come up from, like video content and, following you, just seeing what you might actually get me on TikTok and follow your ass. I think I already follow you. I just don't get on TikTok because it is that goddamn thing is the devil, man. You like it once and it's like
I'm on it every day now.
It's bad, man. You got to make sure you're a creator. Try to limit the consuming, but and that's part of the thing too on social media. Like if anybody who's watching this follows me on Instagram, immediately you'll have 5 or 10 fake pages of me follow you, message you, say, hey, like I'll introduce you to some life-changing crypto investment. That is social media these days. Hundreds of fake accounts in my YouTube comments that try to scam people. And so Instagram has turned into a big problem. I had a buddy who recently lost his verification. He was verified on Instagram. And what happens is these hackers and scammers, they will pay, they're called plugs, moderators, whatever you want to call them. Someone at Instagram, they'll pay him $10,000 or $20,000 to remove your verification. And then they'll go make 100 fake pages with automatic software that targets every person that follows you. They'll message them, send out thousands of DMs, and they'll go make their money back and more, pretending to be you. And so I have people that come at me saying like, hey man, like where's my $3,200 from the crypto thing? I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't do crypto. And so some people fall for it. It's so blatantly obvious. I don't know how they do, but they do nonetheless, and it reflects poorly on you. So, there's a lot of negatives, and that's on every platform, by the way. That's TikTok, that's YouTube, that's Instagram. It's bad. It's bad.
It's also in real life with callers, direct mailers. I mean, it's the same scam's the scam. It's just a different platform to do it. I mean, we've had scammers that, claim they're national hard money bankers. And it's like, hey, send me a deposit. And it's like, what? And people will call me like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm so skeptical these days. Like I was so nervous trying to find a 1031 company to exchange some funds because I've heard some nightmare stories. So I make sure I got a referral.
Well, 1031 and self-directed IRA custodians is the same.
Correct.
And the problem with self-directed IRA custodians is the smaller ones. The smaller ones typically have the best service, the cheapest fees, and you have a personal relationship with. But those are the ones that you got to be somewhat cautious about because, back in the day when it was just like our day, when it was just Equity Trust and Pensco and the bigger ones, as they got bigger, their service got worse and their fees got higher. So it's kind of like, do you stay here knowing that these big companies are safer, or do you try to find the smaller ones where there is legit risk? I mean, real estate, there's a lot of fraud in real estate, and we've been involved in lots of it with title insurance claims and things like that. You send money to a title company, and then you realize that title company, potentially pockets the money and rolls out. I mean, there's issues. There's lots of issues when you do enough deals. You got to be cautious. And as somebody who's newer in real estate, they don't know. It's like, well, what do you mean? I sent my money to the title company, or I have title insurance, or I have a property insurance.
And it goes all the way down to the bottom. So for an example, I flipped a small multifamily property. I'm not a flipper, but it was a deal. Deal's a deal. Made some money. So I flipped this property. I guess something along the way happened where my name got involved. I don't know if it was on the title or whatever. So if somebody looked, they could see that I was the owner. And I got a message on Facebook right as we were about to sell the property that said, hey, like my son is waiting for his keys to move in. And it's a vacant property. We had nobody lined up. And she sends me this whole thing, this old lady about her 35-year-old son who had somehow toured the property with a lockbox that we had on the property, sent a deposit, sent the first month's rent. And I was like, he went in the property? How? What happened? Like the lockbox on there from our management company. And I was just so mind blown at this scam. And it's not the first time it's happened.
It's a big scam around here.
Yeah, especially when Craigslist was around. That was a huge scam.
Yeah.
No, I think we've all had issues. I had one where I had a guy speaking at my event, flew him in from California. We're pretty tight. And I tagged Stratton on Instagram as he's presenting. He goes, yo, dude, why'd you tag my fake profile? I was like, you got to be kidding me, dude. It was so embarrassing because I'm like, yo, this is my boy. And here I am tagging the wrong goddamn.
The one that says Strat Daddy 1.
Yeah.
I was tagging a fake account.
Because Strat Daddy 1 hit up everybody at the same time. And it's like, what the
And people don't know the difference. So I'll give a tip for anybody. If you get messaged by an account that you follow, assume it's not them. The way that you find it, just click on the page and look at when all their posts were posted. They're always all posted in the same day. It's always like yesterday they posted every photo. Like, that's just not believable. Sometimes they can buy likes, they can fake comments, they can buy followers, but they can't fake when it was posted. So that's the only way to look at it. You'll see it in half a second. So when it was posted, that's it.
Yeah,
nice.
Makes sense.
Now,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna ask Hayden the last question. I mean,
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, no, dude, we really appreciate all the good social media content, and obviously you have really nice weather down there. You probably want to hit the beach. But we like to ask all our guests is, what's one book or podcast that you're reading or listening to right now, or something that's changed your life that you think everybody should take a listen to?
Yeah, I'll give you two. A YouTube channel I'm a big fan of. I haven't met him yet. He's friend of friend, Alex Hormozy, from a business and marketing perspective. Absolute genius. I can't wait to get out to Vegas and say hello. A lot of great content, just leads with value. He's got, again, nothing to sell you. I like that kind of motive where it's just quality information. From a book perspective, I'm not the biggest on books. I try to get through at least a small stack every year, but $1 Billion Portfolio is a personal favorite. The only real estate book I've read more than once, by Brett Sprinkle. Great book. And it's an interesting perspective because he was a broker. So he brokered billions of dollars, gotten to deal with multiple large real estate investors, and owns tens of, if not hundreds of millions of dollars himself. So there's like kind of multiple viewpoints there that I think is a unique perspective. So easy book to read. I know some are a little more dense than others.
Yeah, I literally just wrote it down. I'm gonna hit that one because I've been looking for a new one. So, but Hayden, what's the best way everyone can find you out there on the internet? Your real account, not your fake account, so everyone actually can follow the right one. So
yeah, my Instagram, I try to respond to every DM on there, and that's just Real Hayden, REAL, and then my name Hayden. It's not with a 1 at the end, not with a period, not with an underscore, and there's no other account. And you can verify that because it's linked on my YouTube and like all that stuff. So my YouTube channel is just Hayden Bowles. Can't miss it. That account is verified. And feel free to shoot me a message. Always happy to help.
Sounds like a plan.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Really appreciate it. Thanks for spending.
Likewise.
Thanks for
appreciate
spending the time
you guys having me on. Yeah, it's been great.
Absolutely. All right, man. We'll touch base soon. Appreciate it.
Sounds great. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Reserve podcast. Do us a favor and like, comment, and share our broadcast. It helps the algorithm and helps us spread the word too. Till next time, thank you for tuning in.